And boom, just like that, we have found nearly 900,000 web pages for yahoo.com. Hey, thanks for stopping by my channel. So let's be honest, nobody really needs nearly 1 million different URLs to target. So in this video, what I think we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to grab all of the different possible URL targets for you within a bug bounty program. And then we're going to start to narrow it down to the URLs that are actually responsive, and then the ones that I think will be helpful for you to target as a beginner. And so I'm going to show you how to find the most obscure URLs within bug bounty programs for you to target. But always make sure to remember that these URLs are in scope. That's going to be really important. So always check that, because sometimes you'll see URLs that maybe are several years old and a specific bug bounty program has forgotten to remove them, and you're going to think this is a really great target, but it will end up falling into the category of out of scope. So make sure as you go through your recon phase to only target URLs that are in the bug bounty scope. This is something that I really struggled with. In the beginning, I would end up out of scope, so you don't want to do that. All right, there is something called the Wayback Machine, which is really cool, and we're going to be utilizing this, and thanks to Tom Nom Nom for making a Wayback tool that is really going to save us some time, as well as a couple of other tools. So if you want to check this out online, you can type Wayback into Google and you'll be brought to the Wayback Machine, and we can come right in here, and it tells us at the top that it has saved more than 737 billion web pages. And let's go ahead and check out what this does. So we can type in yahoo.com, and it's going to give us all of the screenshots that it has taken of yahoo.com from October 17th, 1996. So this is why it's called the Wayback Machine. And it doesn't just take screenshots, it'll actually store the URLs, and you can go back and check out the timestamps, and it'll show you what the web page actually looked like at that time. So if we click back here to the year 2000, and let's say we want to open up February 29th, 2000, we can do this. So we'll right click, say open in new tab, and it's going to render what that page looked like for us from its archive, which is pretty cool. And so this is what the main page looks like, and some of the HTML might not render quite right, but that's okay. So we just really want to grab the URL and a lot of the links that were available at that time, just in case they are still being hosted on our specific target and they have not removed them, which does happen. Programs and companies will be hosting up specific subdomains, and then after a while that subdomain is no longer in use. And this is really common with blogs on large companies. Say that PlayStation comes out with a new video game, they'll create a subdomain all about that video game, and then they will forget about that video game, and years pass by and that subdomain will still be up and it won't be updated, and it might be vulnerable to new exploits and CVEs. And so that's why we want to look back into the past and see if we can grab any subdomains or URLs or links that may lead us to bugs that other people have not checked for within those forgotten subdomains and links. So this is the Wayback Machine. You can come in here and get a feel for how it works. And now we're going to go ahead and install the Wayback tool by Tom Nom Nom. So what you will do is come to Google, and you're just going to type in Wayback Tom Nom Nom, and it's going to be the first tool here for us. And we're actually going to have to install the Go language before we're able to install this. So what you can do is open up a terminal and come in here and just type in Go, and if it doesn't turn green, then you do not have the Go language installed. So what we're going to need to do is run a sudo apt update just like this, and let this update. And if yours doesn't update or gives you some kind of warning, you might have to run a sudo apt upgrade and then run the sudo apt update. So now that we're all update, we can run sudo apt install go lang like this, and we'll say yes. And now if we type in Go, it should turn blue for us, or some other color, meaning that we have the Go language installed. So we can come back to the Tom Nom Nom site, and we can just highlight this, and we can just copy this right here, and it's actually going to install the tool for us. And I think it installs it in the directory go/bin. So I'll show you that in just a second. We can paste this in, and I think we're gonna have to run this as a sudo. Okay, so when I ran it with sudo, it didn't work for me. So when it actually installs the proper way, it's gonna run just like this, and you're gonna see nothing in the output. And then what you're gonna wanna do is cd over to the go bin, and it's gonna look like this. Then you'll hit enter, and you're gonna automatically come into the directory like this. And then if you ls, you're gonna see the Wayback URLs within the file here. And the way we're going to run this is with this // and then the name of the tool that we want to run. And just so you can see what it looks like, you can run a -h and see the output here. Okay, so my other VM was freezing, so I went ahead and opened up a new one, which is just fine. It will all work the same. So I went ahead and installed it on this new machine, and you're going to find it in the Go bin. And so if I run an ls, you're going to see I actually have a couple other tools in here, but I'm going to show you how to install those in just a second. But this is the tool you just installed right here. So the way we're going to run it is really simple, but first we need to create a target domain for us. So we're going to gedit, and I'm going to gedit yahoo.txt. And we can just type in yahoo.com, and this is going to be our domain that we target. And if there's any subdomains in here, you would want to paste in like a sub.yahoo.com, and I'm going to show you how to grab these subdomains here in just a second. So we're going to leave it just like this. We will save, and now we can run the Waybackurls tool. And while it runs, I'll show you how to grab the subdomains. So what we'll do is cat that file that we just made, and we're going to run it into the Waybackurls just like this. And then you can actually save all of those into an out file by pointing it over to the file you would like to call it. So we'll call it yahoo.urls, and we'll let this run. And now while that runs, we're going to go ahead and grab some subdomains. So we're going to run an amas enum -passive -d yahoo.com. And this might take a second, and it's going to give us a ton of subdomains that we would want to run the Wayback tool on. And so our goal is to find really old pages on these subdomains from the Wayback tool that are going to have some vulnerabilities. So we'll go ahead and close out of this. And what we're going to end up doing is just grabbing like 10 of these, because I don't really want to run the Wayback tool on all of these. You would run it on these if you were actually looking for any vulnerabilities within these pages. But my goal is just to showcase the tool for you. So we will copy some of these URLs and come back over here. And this is still running. So, oh, it just finished. So what we'll do is now we can gedit our yahoo.txt like this. And what you would do is you would run all of these subdomains in a file just like this. So you might want to save this amas right here into an out file so that you don't have to copy and paste, but that's okay that we're not going to do that. And we're going to save this, and now if we ran it, it would run and grab the valid URLs for all of these subdomains for yahoo.com. So now that we have that saved, what you would do is you would run this the exact same way you did right here, and it would run this Wayback tool on all of those subdomains that we just put in that file, and it would save them over here in the URLs for us. So what I want to show you is if we run a word count right here on this yahoo.txt, it's going to show us that's the file that we made. So we'd want to run it on the URLs, and it'll show us that we have more than 128,000 valid responses from the Wayback tool, and we don't necessarily want to visit all of these 128,000 URLs. And if we ran the Wayback tool with all of these subdomains, I bet we would have well over 1 million different URLs, and we don't really want to check all of those. So now we want to see which ones resolve in order for us to know which ones to target. So what we would do at this point is you're going to run a sudo apt install http probe, and it's going to look like this. I already have it installed, so you can go ahead and run it. And then after you run it, you can type in http probe to make sure that it's installed, and it should turn blue for you, just like this. And the way we run it is the same way we would run the Wayback, just like this. So we're going to go ahead and cat out our Yahoo URLs, just like this. And I'm going to actually delete the valid URLs. You can save it into an out file if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just going to let it spit out to the console and then cancel it. And so we would go ahead and run this. And I think this is URLs with an S, like that. And it's going to go ahead and start running this, all of those 128,000 URLs that we pulled down from up here. And it's going to start printing the valid ones out down here in the terminal for us. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. The valid URLs are going to get printed out just like this into the terminal, or you could save them into an out file. And then once you have the valid URLs, you can start to look through which ones you think are juicy and you want to target. One other thing I want to show you is if we type in our HTTP robe just like this, and we run a -h just like this, you can start to see if you want to give them a timeout in milliseconds. So I think there's 1,000 milliseconds in a second. So if you wanted to run an HTTP probe and you didn't actually want to wait for it to try and resolve each one for the default of 10 seconds, which is kind of a long time, you could change this and see if the web URL resolves in like a second. That's probably what I would do. So I would run a -t and I would say 1,000 instead of 10,000. So that way it only takes a second before it moves on to the next URL. So if it went to this URL and it didn't resolve, by default, it's going to wait 10 seconds to go to the next URL. And if you're running over 1 million subdomains, that's going to take forever, especially because a lot of them are really old and are not going to resolve. So I would run it with 1,000, so that way it's 1 second. So if this did not resolve within a second, it's going to go ahead and go to the next one. So this is one of the most comprehensive ways to pull down the max number of URLs for you to target within a bug bounty program. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.